Hello everybody and welcome back to Apple Gaming SE. This is news and opinions for March 3rd through March 9th, 2024. New subscribers this week, we are up 7 from 183 to 190. 3 new confirmed subscribers are Apple Gamer 103, Game On, and I think a Chinese subscriber. If I did the translation correctly through Google, the name is Xiang. So, welcome all. Thank you for joining us here on Apple Gaming SE and looking at some games on the Apple platforms. Looking at iPhone 15 Pro, looking at Intel Macs, looking at iPad performance, things like that. So let's just go ahead and jump forward straight into the news for this week. Given that I am a little late on doing this and just been kind of caught up doing other things, maybe a little too much Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I take that on myself. That's my fault. But just had some things going on. Haven't quite got a bunch of news stories. So we're going to cover 3 topics, basically Epic and Apple, with the drama from this past week in the EU. We're going to be looking at M3 MacBook Air roundup of information, and we are going to talk about parts pairing used by Apple and what Oregon is doing about it as far as outlawing the practice. Okay, so first and foremost, Epic says Apple will reinstate their developer account, clearing a path for the Epic Game Store on iPhone. This is coming from 9to5Mac. And I guess I don't have much to say here that I haven't expressed before, but since Epic is now making official statements, and so is Apple, albeit not particularly detailed statements, I figure I'll repeat my opinion. I think that Epic, having by far the most popular game on iOS, thought they could bully Apple into a favored developer status. When this was denied to them, Epic decided to act maliciously and intentionally broke their agreement with Apple. Let me be clear, Epic intentionally broke their developer agreements with Apple to go to court. It was ultimately a win-some, lose-some for both parties when it comes to the US. But with the EU pushing Apple to open their platforms to additional app marketplaces, Epic had their victory, which was not meaningfully a part of their own doing. That was just kind of the EU being the EU and kind of being anti-big corporation. So Epic got lucky in that regard. However, despite all of this, Epic again went on with offending Apple via a set of nasty tweets on X Twitter, which were pretty petty overall. Probably should not have been that much of a problem, what they said, let's be honest, but I get Apple's point of view here. Epic cost Apple millions in lawyer fees in the US after years of litigation, and then needed to pop off about Apple accusing Apple of what they called malicious compliance. Again, Apple feels that Epic is acting as a malicious partner, so they straight up removed their developer account from the EU App Store using the term banned, that they banned Epic's developer account, meaning that Epic would have to make a whole new developer account on the App Store and get reauthorized and all of that jazz. Of course, the EU got involved, at which point Apple and Epic both seem to have finally had an adult conversation to sort their differences out, which is why we got the, we'll say, more polite commentary that we got in the latter part of this week. Look, I get where Epic is coming from. I do. And as far as business profits and operating costs are concerned, I don't think I disagree with them if I were in their position. 30% take is a lot on every sale that you make. Regardless of that, you don't go talking smack about your partner who has the biggest mobile market in the world. And when you take your wins gracefully using the same flat corporate talk that Microsoft uses. All that to say, I think Epic was ethically in the wrong in doing this. I think they were a malicious partner, so I get where Apple's coming from, and I don't blame Apple for feeling slighted, shall we say. I wouldn't want to have a business partner with somebody who, was working with me, but at the same time telling people how terrible of a partner I was. So I get where Apple's coming from, is all I'm saying. The M3 MacBook Air is out this week, and I've spent a lot of time looking at the reviews, studying it, and it looks like it is it looks like it kind of slots in nicely with the other M3 products that we have right now and the few M2 products that we have. So I've got stories from 9to5Mac and Macworld and a link to Luke Miani's video review. I watched other video reviews and I've read other articles, but these are the ones that I thought were just generally better because they point out specific issues that need to be considered if you're going to buy a MacBook Air, and I think they do it in a succinct way. I think that they give you meaningful information. It works for me at least. So I'm sure there's others out there, but these are just the ones that stuck out to me. So in short, the M3 MacBook Air's storage is much improved over the M2's and is much closer to the M1 in terms of raw storage performance. Luke Miani pointed out that larger file transfer copy tests showed the M3 is superior to the M2, but in some cases, the M1 is still surpassing it. Overall, from other sources I've read and watched, the base M3 MacBook Air is finally in a performance class that is appropriate to its price tag. CPU performance, especially for bursty or medium-length workloads, is noticeably improved. Apple claims 60% over the M1, which seems to hold true in shorter benchmarks, and like Geekbench especially. The M3 graphics are heavily improved due to the architectural changes in the M3 GPU. In some benchmarks, about 40 to 45%, Tomb Raider being the primary example. However, in other tests, they're practically dead even with the M2. Which brings us to the sustained performance. Sustained workloads still see an improvement over the M2, but it's not by much, according to the benchmarks. Simulated real-world tests, there is effectively no difference at all. We're talking margin of error stuff. You can compare this to the MacBook Pro, the base M3 MacBook Pro with 8GB of RAM, and even compared to the 16GB M3 MacBook Air, the use of a cooling fan makes a noted difference, and the M3 MacBook Pro is still a better product. So Apple is definitely hammering home the market segmentation differences between the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, even when they are similarly configured. Our last topic this week is parts pairing used by Apple is set to be outlawed by Oregon. This is, again, 9to5Mac. The first two paragraphs sum this up pretty succinctly. Quote, the practice of parts pairing, which can prevent third-party repair shops from cannibalizing broken parts for devices, is set to be outlawed in Oregon. The legislature just passed the toughest right-to-repair legislation seen to date, and it now requires only the governor's signature to pass into law. This is also something I've shared my opinion on before. The issue of services by unauthorized service providers has been a problem that Apple has faced since my time there a decade ago. Ultimately, Apple is going to face a losing PR battle. If someone goes to a third-party servicer and gets their product repaired and that service provider does a poor job, that customer might then need to go to Apple to get it fixed. That means that Apple will be taking on the liability of potentially other issues of that repair. And it could also mean that that repair is going to be even more expensive than if they had come to Apple in the first place. Apple will also have to take on the bad PR for being more expensive than the third parties. Further, Apple really is trying to make a difference they're trying to make a difference in that they are making devices that are difficult to steal and resell by criminals. The Find My Device program is only going to get you so far. All of that said, there are two things that we can't avoid. One is the maliciousness that is the hearts of people. There are always simply going to be people who are malicious and criminal in their behavior. They always have been, they always will be. And two, as I stated, Apple is always going to be in a losing PR battle when it comes to this kind of stuff. I've said before that I am torn on this topic. Apple is trying to do the best that they can. They aren't law enforcement, and they aren't the arbiters of morality. At the same time, does that mean Apple should be fencing in the honest people who haven't behaved maliciously? I think, be allowed to buy a third-party screen or battery for my devices. It's mine. I paid for it. I should be allowed to take on that risk. And Apple's well-meaning doesn't give them the authority to usurp that. I do the same kind of thing with my car, with my TV, my refrigerator, my lawnmower, and so on. I don't know the right answer, But I'm looking back at recent history in situations where governments and corporations both have acted in their self-interest to hem in information or the behavior of the public. And I'm not entirely sure that I like the idea of Apple being a gatekeeper, in this regard at least, even if I'm playing in their garden. So that is the news and events or the news and opinions rather, for this week. So I hope you all have yourselves a great weekend. This coming week we'll be streaming on Thursday night. It looks like, yep, Thursday night. And we will continue Resident Evil 4. And I'm trying to think of something else that I can stream now. So I'm thinking Fantasian. Like, I was going to do Fantasian Fridays, but my Fridays are going to be tied up, so I won't be doing Fantasian. I thought about playing Endless Space, because I haven't played that in a long time, and it is available on Mac. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how things work out going forward with the channel. So thank you again all for watching. I look forward to talking with you in the next live stream, in the next news and opinions video. If you have questions or comments, leave them below. Please like and subscribe. Us small streamers need all the help we can get. Thank you now. Have yourselves a great week, and take care. Bye-bye.